TDS Queen here. And going back through my videos, you can see how round my face is getting from these stinking steroids, I swear to God. One more month to go, and then I'll go back to having skinny face. But that's not going to stop me from talking about the crazy world we live in nowadays, because I know it's been a couple of days, but I took a break, and that first day I thought I actually dreamt the most corrupt thing ever, because I fell asleep with my phone in my ear. But no, I did not dream the most corrupt thing ever. It actually happened. Now there's been even more, so this doesn't really even count as the most corrupt thing ever. The IRS, in collusion with the Department of Homeland Security and ICE, actually the IRS gave ICE people's tax information. People that are here illegally. People that they make them pay taxes. Okay, so there goes the argument that Republicans and MAGA love to use, that people here that are working here illegally don't pay taxes. Yes, they do. Because if they don't pay taxes when they're working here, they will go to jail. So in essence, the IRS making them pay taxes, okay? They always had a rule that said you are, obviously entitled to a reasonable assurance that your information, tax information, is private when you file your taxes, like your address or what you make or anything like that. It's private. They don't share it. There's no interagency sharing going on at the IRS. No, that was always the rule, okay? And now they were like, oh, JK, now we are going to do that. And what they're doing, and of course they did this on the down low. They didn't say anything to anybody. And it's just so sick. I'm just going to read what I wrote down. So they're giving people tax info to find people to deport. They thought what happened was the federal judge busted this scheme. And November 1st of 2025, there was an order filed to block the IRS from doing this data sharing with DHS and ICE. There was an agreement in April between Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, of course, and Kristi Noem, and it was called a Memorandum of Understanding that ICE could ask the IRS for info of tax-paying undocumented immigrants, tax-paying, and their confidential tax info, and they would turn it over to ICE so ICE can enforce Trump's immigration policies. This was done secretly, like I said, and like I said, there's a presumption of secrecy when you file your taxes. Even if you're undocumented immigrants, there's a presumption of secrecy. Okay? The federal government says you have to pay taxes or you're breaking the law, then they use it to round you up and deport you. So this was a 94-page order that the judge issued, and it was a senior judge in D.C. And what happened was the plaintiff sued, saying that the IRS used to have a confidentiality and privacy policy that protected people's tax info. And then all of a sudden, there's a new rule. Large-scale interagency data sharing, okay? What if, just by chance, your last name happens to be the same as their last name? Or a lot of information happens to be, and they show up at your house. It's not exactly like these ICE agents are doing things by the book, where here's a warrant, let's double check who you are, let's look at your ID. No. They're just taking people off. And that's a whole nother video. Like, I can't believe this stuff that I'm seeing. Okay. So on August 7th, they shared 47,000 taxpayers' information. The IRS relied on a representation from ICE, because this is how they got around the rule. Sneaky, but the judge said no. Just one guy at ICE was personally and directly engaged in more than 1 million criminal investigations or proceedings. Okay? This is a scam, because there's a federal statute they were trying to work around that says certain tax information can be disclosed to individuals that are personally and directly engaged in non-tax criminal investigations. Okay, so some of the information can be released to certain individuals. So ICE tried to say, oh yeah, there's this one guy that's representing 1,000,000 of these criminal proceedings, so you can just go ahead and give all the information to him because he's investigating all of these people. Yeah, no. The plaintiffs have established that the IRS did this knowingly. They showed that their data policy was unlawful, arbitrary, and capricious because they never explained why they changed their policy, and they showed that this was illegal. The court entered an injunction to block further data sharing, and of course, Trump will appeal. So, I mean, again, why? The things that should bother people that don't is just insane. Like, I don't want my tax information being shared, and they were about to, make a huge data center to share tax information. They were going to share it throughout, all the agencies. It wasn't even going to just be the people that were here illegally. They were just going to make this huge database, and I'm glad that got shut down. And, it's just crazy. All right. And the next thing that's very important is the election that's tomorrow in Tennessee, because this is a district that Trump should be winning and had won by like 22 points. And the amount of money that the right is pouring into this race, and the fact that Aftyn Behn is so close to flipping this seat, the fact that she is that close should tell you how fed up and tired and sick everybody is of the same old, same old. And the fact that Trump did a town hall and had to come out and talk up Mike Van Epps. This is the tweet that he did. I am asking all America First patriots in Tennessee's 7th Congressional District who haven't voted yet to please get out and vote on Election Day, Tuesday, December 2nd, for a phenomenal candidate, Matt Van Epps. Matt is fighting against a woman who hates Christianity, will take away your guns, wants open borders, transgender for everybody, men and women's sports, and openly disdains country music. She said all these things precisely and without question. It's on tape. Do not take this race for granted. The radical left Democrats are spending a fortune to beat one of the best candidates we've ever had, Matt Van Epps. You can win this election for Matt. Get out and vote for Matt Van Epps, who has my complete and total endorsement. He will never let you down. Listen to the stuff that's in that tweet. Do you hear a single thing that Matt Van Epps is going to do for the American people? No. It's just the same old MAGA playbook, the same old fear-mongering and tactics, the same old transgender for everybody. Like I said, what even is that? Who even cares? Open borders? Nope. No. Democrats aren't for open borders. I would love to see the proof and evidence that Aftyn Behn came out and said she wants transgender for everybody. Show it to me. Show me the link where she said that. I would love to see it. Hates Christianity. Again, that should not even be a factor in politics. Shouldn't even be in there. What difference does that make? There's a separation of church and state. I am so sick of the least Christian-y people in the world coming out and talking about Christianity. And so-and-so's not a Christian. So neither is he. Okay? You listen to his speech when he talks about, I love Christians, I'm not a Christian, but I love Christians. He says it right there. He's not a Christian. Look at his freaking behavior. Look how many times he's been married. Look at how many times he's committed adultery. He is not a Christian, okay? But this is your guy. This is your boy, right? He's not a Christian. And will take away your guns. No. Democrats do not want to take away your guns. That's just another lie. No. When there are mass shootings, which there just was, again, yesterday. My husband told me there was another one. I forget where he even said it was. Because we're so desensitized to that. Reasonable gun control, okay? That's what we want. We don't think that someone needs a weapon of war, okay? Should not be in the hands of like an 18-year-old, an AR-16 or whatever they are. There's no reason for that. That's what we're talking about. We don't want your guns. Nobody's taking your guns. Nobody's coming to take away your guns. No. No Democrat ever wants to take away your guns. Another lie. So that's that. I really do hope that people get out and vote, because if she flips that seat, that will just absolutely be insane. And I'm so sick of him just in general and all the headlines. I mean, especially the this war crimes with the SEAL Team 6 and the order that they gave, that supposedly Pete Hegseth gave, that now he's trying to come out and say originally he didn't do it, knows nothing about it, and now they're throwing an admiral under the bus saying that, well, he was the one that gave the order to kill those 2 people in the water, because what the Trump administration has been doing is bombing these boats in the Caribbean and saying that, well, since it's self-defense, because we're at war with Venezuela, and we're at war against the drug traffickers that are killing American citizens, and so we just need to wipe them out. Okay, that's not, no. These are killings, okay? We're not at war with Venezuela. We probably will be if we don't stop this nonsense. So the very first one they did, they bombed this boat, they exploded it, and there was 2 people clinging to the wreckage, and supposedly Pete Hegseth gave, allegedly, an order that said, basically, give no quarter, take no prisoners, everybody dead, and they went back and killed the 2 survivors. So, this is former U.S. military lawyers speak out. The former JAGS working group unanimously considers both the giving and the execution of these orders, if true, to constitute war crimes, murder, or both. Okay? So, maybe, just maybe, there's going to be some accountability. Just maybe. Not for Trump, because, of course, he has presidential immunity. Thank you, Supreme Court, for that. I bet you're maybe slightly regretting that now. But maybe there'll be some accountability for Pete Hegseth. Maybe he will get fired. And unfortunately, everybody on down the line that did this knew they were doing something wrong, knew they were illegal orders. The argument is not going to fly that I was just following orders. It's just not. And it's unfortunate, but that's the way that it goes. And I would love to see some accountability, and I would love to see these people be held for their crimes, especially Pete Hegseth, because this is just an evil, little nasty, racist, white supremacist man. Like, there's just no good in this man. Next thing. Trump's tweet about, or his Truth Social, I guess. It's not really a tweet anymore. His Truth Social about the stupid drug prices. Okay? Let's see. Which one is it? Okay. There it is. Because I have invoked favored nation status for the United States of America, drug prices are falling at levels never seen before. 500, 600, 700% and more. No other president has been able to do this, but I have. This is also the answer to much less expensive and far better health care. Republicans, remember, this was done by us and nobody else. This is a revolution in medicine, the biggest and most important event ever. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. You can't lower something. Okay, have you ever been to a retail store and they're having a 500% off sale? No. They might be having a 50% off sale or a 25% off sale or maybe even a 70% off sale. That's a really crazy big deal. They're not going to pay you to take their drugs, okay? That's what 500% off would be, 600% off. That's not a thing. He just makes this shit up. He just makes it up. There is no such thing as a 500% off drug prices, okay? And he hasn't done that. No. Because there's the ones that I take are like, I think $793 a time without my insurance, and I haven't seen those come down. So I don't know what the heck he's talking about. But as per usual, lie. And he thinks he's going to be able to cancel all the executive orders from Biden. I mean, I can't with that. Because I don't know where he thinks Any document signed by Sleepy Joe Biden with the auto pen, which was approximately 92% of them, oh, really, where'd you get that number? Is hereby terminated and of no further force or effect. The auto pen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given by the President of the United States. This man is losing his mind. He's truth socialing up a storm. The things that he's saying are legit insane. Like, where is he coming up with these numbers? Where does he get off saying that the only one who can use the auto pen, it has to have approval by the president? Okay, so maybe Biden approved his own use of the auto pen when he was president. Like, why now just you? Okay, like, nothing he writes makes sense. Nothing. And the things that he's doing don't make sense either, because he's going after these boats in the Caribbean, and yet he is pardoning the former president of Honduras, who is a convicted drug trafficker. How are you going to blow up supposed drug traffickers in the Caribbean and then pardon a huge drug trafficker? It doesn't make any sense, and it's because he's losing his mind. It's simple to see. I'm not at all surprised he's doing any of these things, because he's only out for himself, and he's only out to enrich himself and his rich buddies. That's it. So it's not a shock that he's doing any of this. But coming out and lying about Venezuela, this is another weapons of mass destruction, okay? He's coming out and saying, oh, there's fentanyl coming in, and we're doing this to save Americans. First off, fentanyl doesn't come in from Venezuela. It comes from Mexico and China and the Pacific. It doesn't come in from Venezuela. Maybe cocaine, but that's not what's killing Americans right now. And you're going to sit there and lie. But then there is the Congresswoman Salazar that comes out and does tell the truth occasionally about, yeah, we want the oil. The oil companies are going to go nuts to get in there. They're drooling to get into Venezuela. Okay, I thought this was the no new wars president. I thought this was the I'm going to win the Nobel Peace Prize president. Okay, I don't want to help oil billionaires. I don't want my tax money going into another war. I don't care if they want their oil. That's not going to affect me or help me in any kind of way, because obviously we're drilling more than ever, as I said in the other video, and the gas prices haven't come down. So what difference is it going to make if they go and get all the oil they want from Venezuela? It's not. They'll still charge the same price because they still want to make that certain amount of money as much as they possibly can, and they're not going to change anything. Nothing will be any different. So why are we going into a new war just because he's lying about the fact that fentanyl is coming in from there and we're trying to protect people? It's all a lie. We're going in there for one thing only. Well, actually two. The oil and the distraction from the Epstein files, because he needs a distraction. So anything he can do to distract from that, we're just going right out of the playbook. And all the grifting that he's doing, like this quick little story about his phone. I think it was $499, the Trump phone that was made in America. Where is that Trump phone? Oh, that's right. Never went out. And you know what else? They got rid of the Made in America thing on it. Now, that magically disappeared because it's not made in America. The grift continues, the never-ending grift. And the emails that he's sending out right now to his supporters, I have seen them because Ben Meiselas puts them up on the Midas Touch Network. And it's like, what is he asking money for? There's one that says, would you like a rebate check from Donald Trump, a tariff rebate check? How much of the amount of rebate check would you like? And when you click on it, you go to the next page and you click like $50, $2,000, $3,000. That's the amount you're actually paying him. It's a trick to get you to click like you're going to be getting your tariff refund check, and you click the amount and you're pledging that to give money to him. And there's one that says, I never asked my supporters for money, but I'm desperate and you need to make a sacrifice. What? You're not running for anything. You're not running for office. Why are you continuing to steal from your supporters? I don't get it. Where's this money going? And then he's talking about his ballroom and how no taxpayer money is going to that. And he makes it a point. And anything he really specifically makes a point to, he's got to be lying about it. But I knew that all along. He wasn't fooling me. I knew his taxpayer money was going to that ballroom. I bet you anything there is. And then he talks about his MRI. And the first thing he says, well, it wasn't of my head. Well, yeah, it was. Usually, whatever you say is a projection. Project and confess, right? So the MRI probably was of his head. That would be my guess. I can't, that's probably something we'll never know, because he's never going to be honest about anything, because he is in full cognitive decline. So much so that it's making Fox News freak out. This is how I think Midas Touch Network has, you made it when Fox News is coming after you. Okay, so good job, Midas Touch Network, because they were showing an interview that Ben Meiselas did with Dr. Gupta about Trump's health, and they were losing their effing minds. And they called him out on TV, Ben Meiselas, and said, why aren't you going after Biden? Why aren't you talking more about Biden's mental health and Biden's mental decline? Because, as I have said 50 bazillion times, Biden is not the president right now. Who cares what it doesn't matter anymore. What matters now is what Trump is doing. Okay, there are lots of things I disagreed with Biden about, but he is not president now, okay? We are in a crisis right now with who is president. That's who we focus on. Who is president? If you want to talk about Biden, do it while he was president. Go nuts. Talk about how old he is. Talk about, that terrible debate performance. But back when he was the president, okay, it's time to move on. He's not the president. Nobody cares. Stop talking about it. This is all you have, Fox News? This is the best you've got? Is to blame it on Biden? Talk about Biden? I mean, my God, it's insane. I mean, I just can't. I just can't with that. We're going to move on. Okay, we're almost to the end. This AI stuff, really, I mean, I was thinking about it today, and I feel like with them taking the healthcare away, you've got sycophants in at every level of government. I mean, look at RFK Jr. He's telling people don't get vaccinated. Don't be on this vaccination schedule. Tylenol causes autism. If you just happen to be rich enough to be able to afford health insurance, then fine, maybe you're a little bit useful. And if you just happen to be healthy enough not to get sick because you're too poor to afford health insurance, it's survival of the fittest in their minds. But I'm telling you, there is something like so Orwellian and iRobot-y about this that I'm not trying to be conspiracy. I don't get like that. I'm not a QAnon person. I don't, follow any of that stuff. But they're taking away these vaccines. They're dismantling the CDC stuff. I mean, they're working on your replacement if you don't survive. They're working on your replacement. All the billionaires are sitting at the top of the stock market, trading back and forth. They've made $800 billion this year with their nonsense. Okay? So far. And it's a race to see who can create AI, like replacements for workers. I mean, they could get rid of at least 40% of the job force, okay? And like I said, that's what they're after. That's what they're looking to do. They don't care about us, okay? They're in a race for that. So they don't have to pay their robot workers, and they can make and hoard as much money as possible, because it's all about last man standing. Who's going to be at the top? Who's going to be ruler of the world? Who's going to have the most riches and wealth? And it's just sick. It's just sick. While the rest of us sit here, and that's what I was talking about with the election with Aftyn Behn. You don't hear him talking about the problems that are facing real Americans. Not at all. You hear about, she's against Christianity and take your guns and transgender for everybody and fear, hate this person, hate that person. You're out of touch with us now, okay? That's why they're winning. Because we are sick of this, and people are waking up that we're done with living this way. We're done not being paid a living wage. We're done with the billionaires controlling everything and telling us that the bad guys are the immigrants, the bad guys are people of color. Don't look over here, look over there. Just continue to let us steal, pilfer, and hoard, and we'll all get along just fine. And yay, hooray, capitalism. We're sick of it. And I think that we really have a chance of, I will just die if that goes her way tomorrow, that election. I mean, that would be, just the fact that it's close makes me happy, So, the last thing is the, immigrants. Like, the racist stuff that he is saying is so disgusting. I mean, I can't. Okay. He gets up there and he lies, number one, about the National Guard shooting thing. You know, it was an Afghan national, but then he doesn't talk about how he was, given asylum under Trump. No. Now, he's blaming all Afghanistans. Now, nobody can come in. Let's shut down everything. Every third world country that he deems a third world country, And it's just because his base will overlook the, pedophile protection program that him and the Republicans have been running if he throws him a racist bone now and again. So that's what he's doing. This is full-on white supremacist mode, Let's find us some blacks to hate. Oh, Somalia. There we go. Oh, we hate Somalians. Man, there's this huge Somalian population in Minnesota. And like I said in my other video, no, there's not. It's 1.12% of people. And they're not gangs of them roaming the streets and messing people up, and crime is rampant. It's just his racist dog whistle. That's all that it is. To look over here, distraction from the Epstein files. Let's go hate us some people of color. That's what we're going to do. And that's how he is. That's how he operates. That's their MAGA playbook, and that's what he's doing. He's like that weird, crazy, racist grandpa that you have, I had one. That was the first time I ever saw a swastika, was in a mat that was my grandpa's atlas. That was the very first time I ever saw that symbol. And when I showed my mom, she about lost her SH, like, But nobody really listens to him. They just let him, rant like, oh, that's a crazy racist grandpa. He doesn't know any better. That's just how he was raised. But this man is the president of the United States. He doesn't get to be crazy, racist, ranting grandpa, okay? We have to hold him to a higher standard than that. And the fact that he comes out here on the national stage and says this just absolute bullshit and talks about how we're only going to let white people in from South Africa of a non-existent, white genocide that's not even happening. Please. This is the most racist crap that I've ever heard. I mean, ugh. And the fact that people are mad that immigrants want to come to the greatest country in the world. Why are you mad that people want to live here? You want to live here, so only you get to live here. You realize nobody white is from here, okay? We all immigrated here. The only people originally here were the Native Americans who we genocided when we got here. So y'all are just dumb, just thinking things like that. It's just stupid. And they aren't any different from you, except their skin is a different color. They didn't steal your housing. They didn't steal your jobs. They didn't do any of that. It's all a lie. And I know, you're just used to hating on people, and that's what he's told you to do. But the lies this man tells, and I'm really hoping that people are looking at that, because this is from his tweet of the R-worded governor tweet. And he's talking about Ilhan Omar, always, listen to this. The seriously R-word governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or both, while the worst congressman/woman in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab. Oh my God, so what? Are you that? And who probably came into the USA illegally, and that you are not allowed to marry your brother, does nothing but hatefully complain about our country, our Constitution, how badly she is treated when her place of origin is a decadent, backward, and crime-ridden nation. Oh my God. Like, how can you sit here? That's my favorite argument that they make online, is that Trump isn't racist. Prove to me that he's racist. Show me an example where he's racist. Well, I just did. There it is. Because that is some of the most racist shit. And I hate even having to read it. It's so freaking racist. You're going to point out that she marries, or she's, wears a hijab. So what? And picking on the countries that we all know why he doesn't like those countries. That's the problem. They don't think that he's racist because he's always just a little bit quiet about it. It's always just right under the surface, isn't it? He never comes right out and says anything completely 100% racist. But read between the lines. You know a freaking racist when you see one. Come on, people. Get real. And the last thing is these headlines, okay? I'm just going to read you some of these. Silicon Valley's man in the White House is benefiting himself and his friends. That's 1. Lawmakers suggest follow-up boat strike could be a war crime. That's 2. The ex-president whom Trump plans to pardon flooded America with cocaine. That's 3. As Trump threatens cartels, he vows to free a convicted cocaine trafficker. All of these should be term-ending scandals. Every single one of them. Do your job, Congress. I am tired of this. Everybody's tired of it. Everybody's tired of him getting away with it. Get rid of him. The Supreme Court didn't have a spine and gave him immunity, and they kind of passed the buck to you, and that sucks, but it's time to do your job. You don't get to just resign and go home with your tail between your legs. You actually are going to have to get him out of here, because if you don't, every day it is just getting worse. And I saw a comment online that somebody wrote that they used to call their congressman every day. And they used to spend an hour every day doing that. And they got tired. And they're tired. And they're hopeless. And I was reading that and I felt so sad. And I just said to them, don't give up. We cannot give up. I know it's tiring. And I know it feels hopeless. Believe me, I didn't even want to start making videos again. I was like, I'm just so sick of this shit. Every single day. All day long, all I do is listen to bad shit and illegal shit that he does, and I'm just so tired, and I just don't even want to do it anymore. But if I give up, then maybe somebody else gives up, and then the next person gives up, and maybe we just are complacent, we get used to it, F it, now we're Russia or North Korea. That's how fast it can happen. So we cannot give up. We have to get out there, and the best thing we can do is vote. Vote these idiots out of office. Send him a message tomorrow, Tennessee. Send him a message. We don't like you. We don't like what you stand for. You don't stand for what we stand for. You don't care about what we care about. And you don't care about us. And that's all I've got for today. So, as always, if you like my video, please hit that like button and hit the subscribe button and never stop screaming the truth from the highest rooftop. And I will see you all tomorrow. Have a good night.